Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well today. I was just about to set up and film down on the floor where I typically film these kind of videos, and then the sun came out and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so exciting. It is rare to see the sun at this time of year, so I relocated, brought all of my begonias over here, so hopefully you can enjoy the sunshine as you enjoy the plants that I'm going to show you. But this is a video that if you told me a year ago, if you told me I was going to be making this kind of video, I probably wouldn't have believed you, because if you've been on my channel for a while, you will know that I have never, pretty much in the entire time of owning plants, I have never been a begonia person. I've really liked them in other people's collections, and I've kind of been able to appreciate them in other ways, but they have just been a genus of plant that myself, I have never really been drawn to and have never really wanted to grow. However, in the last year, that has really changed. I'm not saying that I am like begonia crazy now, because there's still a lot that I probably wouldn't want to grow, a lot of types that I probably wouldn't want to grow, but I really have caught the bug a little bit, and I have actually got 12 different species of begonia in my collection now. So I'm going to take you through all of them today. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my growing experience with them, some tips and tricks and things that I've picked up so far. Obviously, this is a genus of plant that is still very new to me, but yeah, I'm just really excited to show you all of them. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Yoli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learned over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And yeah, so that is pretty much what this video is going to be. Begonia collection tour, show and tell, yabbering on about plants, all the standard stuff. So yes, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So, although these plants are in no particular order, I haven't ranked them or anything like that, I thought it made sense to start with the begonia that I feel like for me was kind of like the gateway begonia, the one that led me on to getting lots of others. And it is the Begonia Sinbad. And this one, from the moment I saw it, it just absolutely blew my mind. And I don't know why. This one didn't necessarily feel like a begonia to me when I first saw it, because I think maybe one of the reasons why I was a little bit off-put or just like not that interested in growing begonias is because I kind of just thought they all looked the same. And I know now that I've kind of done a bit of a deep dive into the genus that that is not the case. But this one has got the most incredible kind of bluey silvery leaves, and it's been growing in kind of like medium to low light, but when it's in higher light, you can't really tell at the moment, but if I can find some pictures, I'll put them on the screen. When it's in higher light, it actually sun stresses quite pink, and it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And I got this one initially as a one or two leaf cutting at the beginning of the year, and I really liked it. And pretty much from the first like couple of weeks of rooting this plant and growing it, I was like, oh my god, I'm so drawn to this plant, I want to grow a big full one. And I went back on Etsy and I tried to get some more cuttings, and that person had then closed their shop, and I was like, no. But anyway, I eventually managed to get some more cuttings, and that is what you can see here. It's obviously filled out so nicely, and it's now turning into a beautiful big plant. I have chopped it back and I have propagated it in my time of owning it as well. And I recently did quite a scary transfer to this huge container. This is a glass container, and as you can see, I've got a layer of semi-hydro on the bottom there, and then just kind of like a standard chunky, well-draining begonia mix on top. And I have actually, you'll see as I take you through them, but I have actually done this for a lot of my begonias, and I've got on really well doing it this way. It feels like a really low maintenance way to care for them as well, so that obviously ticks boxes, because I think a lot of the time, and I definitely had this assumption before I started growing begonias, a lot of the time it's quite easy to assume that they're quite difficult plants. I think because you get some species of begonia that require ridiculously high levels of humidity and they only can live in like terrarium environments. Pretty much every single one I'm going to show you just lives in a standard room environment. And although I do run a humidifier from time to time, it's not consistent, and they're all happy and none of them have given me grief. So yeah, but at the moment, I can't see that it started to put out roots into the new substrate, so I'm just being very cautious about not overwatering, because this was a big pot size up, and I was a bit kind of umming and ahhing about it. However, if you did watch that repot and chat video, you'll be able to tell that since I've done that, the plant has massively, massively perked up, and it does seem so much happier. And I'm growing it just over there underneath my grow lights. That's where I've moved it since I've potted it up, and it does just seem like the plant is really, really happy. So it's one that I am very, very excited to continue to grow. I can actually see around the bottom of the stems, and I'm not sure how well this will be picked up on camera. I may actually need to put some clips in of this, but down the bottom of the stems, you could tell it's actually becoming very woody and almost tree-like. And lots of plants do this as they grow and mature in order to essentially strengthen the base and mean that they can support more weight. So the fact that this one's starting to do it just makes me really excited. So yeah, I will, as always, keep you updated with it, but it's been such a wonderful begonia to grow, and it's one that, as I say, has pretty much inspired every other one that I'm gonna take you through. So the next one is this little one, and I have shown you this one before, and I've got to say it looks a little bit different to how it did before. But this is the Begonia Hirtella, and the last time I showed you this begonia, it was ginormous. It was about that big, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's so easy, it grows so well, nothing ever goes wrong with it. And the reason it looks like this is because things went wrong with it. It basically got thrips, and I couldn't tell for ages. And although I do deal with pests in my collection from time to time, I am pretty good on the whole at checking my plants. But I did just notice about maybe 3 months ago that just in here, like right where the sinus is, I noticed that they were kind of like, if I can find some clips, I'll put it on the screen, but I noticed that there was quite a lot of browning, and I was like, is this fungal? I don't really understand. So I took a load of cuttings and I propagated them in different ways. I've got some in water. This one obviously is in sphagnum moss. And despite looking really, really, really hard, I couldn't see any actual pests at all. And I got a new little microscope lens recently, and I was just looking over the plant, and I was like, what is there? Like, what is there to see? And I did find thrips, and they were so tiny. You could barely see them with the naked eye. They were juvenile thrips. And so yeah, whole plant chopped up, bits that were savable, like all the new growth bits have gone into propagation, but very sadly, I have lost a large section of the mother plant. I probably could have done more, but I was like, I've got so many sections. This one does grow like a weed when it gets going. I'm just gonna chop and prop. But yeah, it's a very unusual one. It's one I'd never actually seen before. And I mean, obviously, I might say that with a few of these. I am new to the genus, so maybe this is really common. But when I typed it into like Instagram and stuff, I couldn't find loads of posts on it. So it feels quite unusual, and it's so beautiful. But yeah, this one, like, I cannot even explain how quickly this one grows. Like, I got this as a one leaf, like literally one leaf cutting at the Bristol plant swap, probably like mid this year, and within a couple of months it was a full huge plant. So I think that's probably why I wasn't too upset about chopping the mother plant up. I was like, I know it will grow back. So yeah, I would hope that in the next few months I'll be showing you it as a lovely big full healthy thrip-free plant again. But for the time being, that is what it is looking like. And then this next begonia is one that I didn't actually buy for myself. It was very kindly included by the Etsy seller that I bought off, and I will put her details there because I have got several begonia from her now, and oh my goodness, every single time they've been amazing and packaged amazingly. But yeah, I wasn't initially quite sure what this one was, and you guys in the comments told me that this was a begonia down home. I'd never heard of it before, but it is so pretty and it's doing so well for me. I propagated this one in water and it developed a really good root system literally within a couple of weeks, and so again I potted it with no drainage at the bottom, very similar to how Begonia Sinbad's potted, and it's doing really well. The only thing that I'm a little bit confused about, and maybe some of you can advise here because as I say, I don't really know a lot about this yet, but I have noticed that its leaves seem to be getting smaller, and maybe that's just because it has been transferred to a new potting medium and it's just acclimating. That would be my guess. I have given it a really good check over pest-wise, can't see anything at all. And as you can see, it is rooting, or has rooted, sorry, brilliantly in there. So yeah, if this continues, obviously I will have to rethink things a little bit and maybe I'll chop it back and propagate again and try and fill it out a little bit that way. But It's growing on one of my window shelves over there, so I would say it's kind of it's not in direct sun, but it's in fairly bright light. Maybe it's too bright for it, I'm not sure, but bright and direct light for the rest of them seems to have been okay. Although I do know begonias as a genus can tolerate and grow quite well in lower levels of light, not low light, but lower levels. So yeah, maybe I should play about with its lighting conditions. I don't know. But yeah, it's got beautiful, beautiful foliage. It's got these gorgeous silver markings on the front of the leaves, and then at the backs are this, I want to say like classic begonia red. This is always very much what I think of when I hear begonia, like the really bright, I mean, I always want to say garish backs of the leaves. To be honest, I actually quite like them, and this is definitely a change of tune for me because I've always been not scared of colour. Sounds like a really silly thing to say, but there's been certain colours that when I put in my space that is predominantly very, very green, that just kind of jar me a bit and like freak me out, and red usually is one of them. But I think because I just love the foliage of this one, it doesn't actually bother me that much. In fact, you will see several begonias that are not green in here. So yeah, God, isn't it funny how I guess like your style and like what you like changes as you go through life. But yeah, I do just feel like all of the plants that I'm showing you are so out of my comfort zone from what they would have been this time last year. So yeah, that's what it's doing at the moment. If anyone can advise on the small growth, I would be so grateful. Honestly, I get so much great advice from you guys in the comments, and I appreciate it so much. So thank you in advance. And then this little one is actually, technically, Ross's. It was given to Ross at the last plant swap, but it is one that I am actually quite excited to grow. And it is a Begonia amphixius. It's very, very small at the moment. And in fact, this is one that has just been in the prop box pretty much since we brought it home from the plant swap, just because I was like, I wanted to acclimate. I know this is one that's commonly thought of as being like a terrarium begonia. This is one of the first little begonias that I actually saw in a terrarium, and I was like, oh, interesting. But apparently you can just grow this in normal room humidity. I know a lot of you have sent me pictures of yours and they're growing beautifully in just standard room humidity. So I might slowly start to transition it now out of the prop box. I have also noticed when I took it out to show you today, it is actually flowering. Like, can you see there's one that's fallen on the soil, and just there, that I believe is a little male flower getting ready to open. And for such a teeny tiny plant, it's really impressive that it's flowering already. Also, I've just realised you can't actually see its beautiful foliage that well. Look at all those little polka dots. So lovely. So yeah, I'm really excited to grow this one. I think I will probably transfer it into a similar growing system to the rest of them, just because, as I continue to say, that seems to be working well. But again, any advice, any tips would be greatly appreciated. Oh, and this next one. This is one that I showed you for the first time the other day in my greenhouse cabinet tour, and it has been a wish list begonia for me since I first started getting into begonia, and it is a Begonia chloristicta, and this is the first and only velvet leaf begonia that I own. And in fact, this is quite a good light to see it in, because you can see it's almost got a little iridescent sheen to it, and it is so beautiful. And I was a little bit worried about this one actually, because again, I got this on Etsy. I get so many of my plants on Etsy, but I got this from overseas because I couldn't find anywhere in the UK that was selling it. And as I said at the beginning of this video, it's not the best time of year, despite the sunshine today. It's not the best time of year at the moment. It is getting very cold at night time, and this was in the post for I think about 6 or 7 days. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's such a beautiful plant. It's such a sensitive plant. It's also a plant that I spent a hell of a lot of money on. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't so much the actual, I mean, the price of the plant was expensive. I paid, I think, about £50 for this plant, but I wasn't aware at the time about the shipping costs as well, and I clicked pay, and then I was like, oh my god. So yes, I splashed out on this plant, but I'm gonna just say that this is my late birthday present to myself, because it is one that I've wanted for a really long time, although I realise that is quite a splash. But one of the main reasons I wanted to get this begonia is not just because I think it's gorgeous, because I really, really do, is because I am very interested to play about a little bit with begonia pollination and hybridization. And a lot of the hybrid begonias that I've seen and loved have been crossed with the Chloristicta. It just seems to make beautiful, beautiful babies. So yeah, I've never experimented with begonia pollination before in my life. In fact, the only successful pollination I've ever done is with anthuriums. But I've just been enjoying reading up on it and kind of researching, and hopefully at some point soon being able to play about a little bit. But look at the bottom of this one. It's got so much new growth. And yeah, I can't believe I've got it. I still feel a little bit in awe. I've only had it just over a week and it feels just, I don't know, you know, when you get a new plant that you've wanted for ages and it just feels a little bit surreal. I'm very much in that space with this one at the moment. I keep checking on it and seeing what it's doing and seeing how big the leaves are and seeing if anything's grown. And yeah, that's where I'm at with that one. But I adore it so much. And then this one is the Begonia U062, and I got this one because of the first one I showed you, the Begonia Sinbad, and I will, oh god, it's very heavy, be careful. I'll hold them next to each other, and can you see the similarity? Although they're a very different colour, texture-wise, they are incredibly similar, and I don't know how kind of closely related they are, but I saw this one, and although it's kind of like, in some lights it looks bright pink, and in fact it almost looks a bit silvery here, and in other lights it looks really quite red. It's not the sort of thing I would usually look at and be like, oh, that's my kind of plant. But I think because I was getting on so well with the Begonia Sinbad, I was like, this one is just kind of fascinating to me. And again, I'm pretty sure I actually got this from the same Etsy seller that I spoke about earlier, where I got the other begonia, and it has grown so quickly for me in the time that I've had it. I think I've probably had it for 2 months now or something like that, and it came as a top cutting, but it only had a couple of leaves, and now it's got multiple growth points. It is just branching out like crazy. I feel like I should probably get it onto a trellis or something. I did actually, so I haven't really figured out a trellising system for my begonias yet. I've staked a few of them here and there, and a lot of the time I've just been like, nope, don't like it, and I've taken them out again, hence why certain things are looking a little bit floppy. But I think I probably should trellis this one. But yeah, again, very similarly grown, except this one's got lacquer at the bottom, and as you can see, beautifully rooted. And yeah, just another one that is, I just want to say, pushing me out of my comfort zone. I know that sounds like such a weird thing to say, but it's so nice to be able to look at a colourful plant in my space and actually enjoy it. It feels like I've conquered through something, and I don't quite know what that something is, but yeah, I really love it. Oh, and then this is another very exciting one. It is the Begonia Leucoana, and I ogled over this one online when I was just kind of first getting into begonias, and then I can't remember, I think that this might have even been the same Etsy shop, I can't remember, but I stumbled across it, I believe, on Etsy, and I was like, oh, you don't see this one about very often, and I got it as a little cutting, and the main mother leaf that it came with did actually die back, but it has been, now that it's started to grow, it seems fairly, I mean, it's quick to grow, a fair thing to say. It's not it's not as quick as some of the other begonias that I've shown you. However, if you compare this to something like a Monstera, for example, I would say it's faster to grow. Also, I have got it in the same growing system, but I've got this one growing in a jar at the moment, and I do want to transition this out. In fact, I should probably do it very soon, just because I've been trying to get all of my plants that I've got in jars out into these like straight containers so that I don't have to accidentally damage them when I'm repotting them, because the thing is, as their root system expands, obviously the jars have got the lip, and it just means that typically you have to break the jar in order to safely get them out. So yeah, I should probably do that soon, but it's just such a lovely one. I love those kind of like polka dotty, but almost like, I don't know, it's almost like it's just been painted, those leaves, and how the new growth comes in so red and then turns to this beautiful green colour. And again, I don't know how well the camera's going to pick it up, but the back of the leaves, oh, you kind of can see actually, but the back of the leaves in some lights look completely green and in other lights look completely red. yeah, they've kind of got a little kind of iridescent sheen about them, which is lovely. And again, this is another one that I heard did really well in higher humidity levels, and I've got to say I haven't done anything special. I haven't even got this one in my cabinet, and it does seem happy so far. So yeah, I'll obviously keep all of them monitored and change things up should I need to, but it doesn't seem to be giving me any grief, and I'm just responding to what the plant's saying. So yeah, very excited about that one. And these next two, again, technically Ross's, but I'm going to show you them anyway. This one, I can't for the life of me remember what it is, but it was a most recent plant swap one. And in fact, I think the lovely person that gave Ross this is on my Patreon, so I will drop them a message and I will try and find out the name. But it's just very, very unusual. It's obviously got some pink in there, but it's got those gorgeous silvery leaves. I've got to say, this is one that personally I probably wouldn't have chosen to grow myself. This is, I don't know, like I know I've just said I'm getting better with colour, but this is a begonia that still kind of for some reason freaks me out, and I cannot put my finger on why. I'm very, very like happy to have it. God, this makes me sound awful, doesn't it? Because I'm very happy to have it growing in the flat. I'm very happy that it gets to grow in, what am I saying? I'm very happy that Ross is growing this plant, or will be growing this plant once it comes out of the prop box, because it is still in the prop box acclimating at the moment. But it's one that I feel like I would probably just neglect a little bit if it was in this space. This might change because things have changed. But yeah, typically like it's not a plant that is massively exciting me. But as I say, this is Ross's plant, so shut up, Claire. But yes, colours are lovely and it does look very healthy. As I say, it is just rooting in sphagnum moss in a prop box at the moment. But it's probably ready to be potted up. It's got really, really good roots in there. So yeah, should probably pot that up. And then another one of Ross's, but one that this is arguably brighter, but I don't know, this is just quite exciting for me. This is the Begonia breviremosa, and this is the main section that he's got, and he's also taken several cuttings and has got several bits propagating. Also staked it up, little makeshift thing with a metal straw, and this one is definitely in need of a drink. I just went through to grab it to show you in this video and I was like, oh my god, it is bone dry. But yeah, this is a plant that Ross has grown and like exclusively cares for. I haven't done anything to this plant, but I am thinking that if he will let me, I might actually take a cutting for myself, because I would love to try and hybridize this one. I just think it would make some really cool hybrids. I'm talking about this as if I'm going to have success. I might not. But yeah, it's doing well on the whole. It's got some new growth coming just there. It's also got new growth coming at the top there. I think it definitely could do with a better trellising system, but I'm one to talk. I haven't done that with any of mine yet, but it's just got the most amazing leaves and really cool colours. It's just a very Ross plant. He loves the pink plants, and this kind of like bright pink and black is very punky, and that's kind of his vibe. So yeah, it is a really, really lovely one. Oh, and then this one I got from my friend Emma, Good Growing, and I have been ogling over this begonia for such a long time. And I think it's called the Coraline or something like that. I know it's very similar. And in fact, I'll spin it around. It's propagating in water at the moment, hence why I have to be a little bit careful about how I show you it. In fact, let me take a leaf out so I can show you. Oh, look at those roots. Oh, they look amazing. But yeah, this is what it looks like. And one of Emma's neighbours just across from her had this gorgeous, gorgeous begonia plant growing in their hallway. She lives in a block of flats, and outside her front door, she had this begonia, and it was just like, it was like bigger than me. It was huge. And every single time I went to see Emma, I was like, oh my God, that begonia is amazing. This is even before I was like into begonias. And I think I'm right in saying that the building management or something said it was a fire risk and she needed to move it. So bless her, her neighbour had to chop the whole thing up and just said to Emma, would you like a cutting? And it's obviously growing well for Emma. And she said to me, would I like some cuttings? And this again was at the plant swap, and I of course said yes. But yeah, this one, as I say, is rooting quite well. It's not like fully rooted or anything yet, but I would say it's probably ready to be potted up. I'm like with Begonia, I haven't been that is patient the word? I haven't waited for as long as I might do with, again, like Monstera philodendron, like a different genus. I've kind of just gone, okay, it's got the start of some roots, let's pot it up. And I've done that with the Sinbads, I've done that with pretty much every single one I've shown you, in fact. And I haven't had any issues whatsoever. So I would have thought I could probably go ahead, yeah, and transition this one to soil. Again, I think I will probably use the same method as I have done for the others. I just know that this one is capable of growing absolutely huge, and already the size of its leaves is so impressive. It's got those beautiful little speckles on it. I just think it's lovely. So yeah, this is actually, I know I'm saying so many of these are my favourites. This is one that I can absolutely see becoming like a firm favourite in my collection as time goes on. Because yeah, it's just so pretty. So pretty. But then I've still got a couple more, and in fact, let's do this one first. I was going to end with this one, but this is actually a bit of a sad one. So this is a Begonia Black Forest, and this is the one that I ordered when I got the Begonia down home as a free cutting, and as you can see, this one has grown significantly more than this one in the time that I've owned it. And maybe this is just a slightly quicker grower, but this one has had issues. This one's had thrips quite recently, and although I haven't seen any thrips actively on the plant in a few weeks, you can see, like, if you look at the back of the leaves, it's got so much damage. Like, it's just really dry and crispy in places. So I don't know, like on camera it actually looks much healthier than it does in real life. Part of me is kind of thinking, especially now it's starting to give me some new growth there, I'm like, should I just remove those leaves? Maybe. I think it would decrease the chance of the thrips coming back and maybe just allow the plant to put its energy into more. In fact, wow, I was going to say it has got several growth points starting to pop up. So yeah, I don't know, what would you guys do? If this was your plant, would you chop the leaves or would you just wait for them to run their course? I don't know, I can't decide. But yeah, it's a really, really lovely one. I just love the kind of like scattered polka dots on this one. I know there's like the Begonia maculata and stuff like that, which is a begonia that, in fact, I think a couple of years ago, I think I had a Begonia maculata. They're the ones that you typically nowadays see about kind of at garden centres. They're the classic polka dot begonias. And I really like them, but it isn't one that I've been kind of like drawn to add to my collection in the same way as the ones that are just a little bit more random. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a psychological thing because you do see the other ones all the time. I don't know. But yeah, again, this one very similar to the down home one. This one's got very red backs of the leaves, which are really quite pretty. They're very rich and red. But yeah, this one's actually been in my cabinet, and yeah, I say it's been doing well. It's obviously had pests. Apart from that, it was doing well. It was doing well, actually, ironically, until I put it in my cabinet. But yeah, it's kind of hard to tell if that's just from pests or not. I wouldn't have thought it would be from cabinet conditions because it seems like they'd just kind of be ideal. But yeah, we will wait and see what happens with that one. But then finally, the lovely person that gave Ross the Begonia Amphixius also gave me this one. And again, I haven't learned its name, but it is a Begonia acontifolia cross Coccinia or Coccinia. I need to figure out how to actually pronounce that name, but I've said it like pretty much every single time I've shown you this begonia so far, but it's just got a really lovely story behind it. The person was saying that this belonged to someone in their family who grew it outdoors, and very sadly, because it is quite an unusual hybrid, the plant was stolen. So yeah, it does just feel really special to be able to grow a little section of it. And this is actually a really lovely, lovely light to be showing you it in, because although they kind of look, those little stripes kind of look silvery, they're almost a little bit pink as well. And you can just really appreciate the weird form it's got as well. It's very different to the others. And again, it has got those lovely red backs of the leaves, which are just very kind of standard begonia-y in my eyes. But yeah, it's just a really lovely one, and I'm finding it very easy to grow. It has given me that leaf in the time that I've owned it, which hasn't been that long. It's only been a couple of months. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to see what it does next. This is one that is growing purely in semi-hydro, and I don't know if I'm going to carry on growing it that way or not. I'm in no rush to transition it out, but at the same time, I don't know why I'm just obsessing over this way of soil / semi-hydro growing at the moment because it's working really well. So maybe I might change this over. But yeah, so that is my begonia collection as it currently stands. I have got my eye on a few that I would love to add to my collection. I think it's kind of getting towards the time of year where placing orders for new plants, particularly plants if they're coming from overseas, is not the best idea because obviously it is getting colder. But yeah, my begonia wish list is rapidly increasing. And if you've got any suggestions for begonias that you think are really cool or you think I might like, go on, tempt me, comment them down below and I may add them to my wish list as well because it's just so cool and exciting discovering a new genus and kind of, I don't know, figuring things out in the same way as you kind of do when you're a new plant parent. Like, it just feels like very new territory and it feels very exciting and it's just so fun. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Stay sexy, plant lovers.